Hey, this is Nomar Slovic, author of UFOs Over Maine, and you're listening to the Ghosts in the Valley podcast.
Hello and welcome to Ghost in the Valley podcast. I'm your host, Cooley. Today I'm celebrating my 200th episode. I'm really excited about that. It's only taken me over 7 years to get to this spot. Hey, we're still here. We're still rocking and rolling. And tonight I have Timothy Wayne Williams as my guest. He's an artist, an author, a painter, a musician, and so much more. I can't wait to pick his brain and get into our conversation. But first, I want to have a special announcement. I will be on Christina Spencer's podcast for the whole month of February. So make sure you tune in every Friday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Christina's going to be reading chapters out of my book, Spencer's Ghost. Then on the last Friday of February, I will be on the show talking about any of her questions and about the book. And the name of her podcast is the Horror History and Hauntings Library podcast. I'll have that in the show notes, and thank you, Christina, for having me on and making me the author of the month of February. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Timothy Wayne Williams.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I want to point out how behind your name there, because you that's impressive when you're not just per se an author or just a painter, and we relate on being musicians, And,
yeah.
So we're gonna get all that. I want to get into that fun-sized bacon.
I invent things that are like kind of no-brainers. It's like fun-sized bacon is just where you cut the bacon in half so it fits in the pan better. See, I came up with that one day, and I was all like, I have invented fun-sized bacon. World, you're welcome.
Okay.
But now, my claim to fame, Al, the thing that I'm most proud of, and I want this on my tombstone, I think, is I invented the word snowberdose. That is, it has a couple meanings. It means like if you get more than 8 inches of snow, that's a snowberdose. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Or it could just be eating too many snow cones. Either one. But, so that I'm most proud of, probably.
Or don't eat the yellow snow,
Yeah, well, there's that, yeah.
Thanks to Mr. Frank Zappa, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I always find that these little sayings that pop up, they stick with me, and and how we get to, connect to different people, Mm-hmm. I came across you through Christina Spencer's podcast.
Yeah.
And I seen you on another podcast. I can't think the name of it right now. But then I was referred to Christina Spencer by the fine host over there at the Seekers Chronicles Paranormal podcast. So I've been on their show, they've been on mine, and it's such a tight-knit family in this paranormal. How somebody knows somebody, or somebody knows somebody.
Oh, yeah.
I found you very fascinating, and I want to get into some of your stories.
I appreciate that.
And my first question is, what got you interested? Let's start with being a painter. What led you into that, becoming a painter?
Okay. Well, I was a musician for a long time, which I think we've talked about a little bit. And I was all in on becoming a rock star. And when that completely fell through, I was, out of school. I had no money. I was like, okay, what do I do now? Well, I went and my kind of fallback was being a printer. And I worked at a screen printing company for years. And I ended up becoming like the graphic design guy there and kind of I kind of I was kind of a supervisor there too. But anyway, while doing that, I started painting every, now and then. I experimented with it. I had just mentioned to my mother-in-law one day, I was like, I'd love to try painting sometime. I always thought that was cool. Well, so she got me a paint set like that Christmas. And so I started messing around with it. And I really felt like I took to it really quick. As a matter of fact, I like to tell people, like in the first year of painting, I was doing like commissions, just like, one after another. I made more money in 1 year painting than I did the whole time I was playing music, which is crazy because I did really well in music. I was very close to like quote unquote making it. And that's a whole nother story unto itself. But so I started doing fine art shows and everything along with my day job. I had modest success, and then I've always been into the paranormal. And then one day I was listening to a podcast actually on Bigfoot, and I just was doing this landscape, and I thought, wouldn't it be hilarious if I just hid a little Bigfoot in the background here? I just won't tell anyone. I'll just do it for my own amusement, And so I did that and didn't think anything about it. And I ended up doing a couple dozen paintings, where I sold the paintings and never told the people there were Bigfoot in them. I just honestly didn't think anyone would be remotely interested. And so there was one time I was having a really slow art show, and I ended up, just to keep people in my booth, I started telling them, hey, see if you can find a Bigfoot in this painting, And people were really digging it. And before I knew it, I had, a ton of people in my booth looking for Bigfoot, in my paintings. And I thought, well, this is an interesting way to get some eyeballs on my painting. And plus, I love the topic. So I ended up, combining these two things. And I was able to quit that job of 33 years and, become a professional oil painter. And I'm super fortunate, really. I'm definitely not becoming rich, but I'm not destitute.
So I was looking at some of your paintings today. I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. And,
thanks.
So what leads you to, okay, today I'm gonna paint flowers, or tomorrow I'm gonna paint a cabin? I mean, what? I mean, do you plan that, or is it spontaneous? How do you plan your paintings?
I don't. This is the cool thing about what I do is I can paint pretty much whatever I want, and so I just paint whatever I want to. There's sometimes I like to challenge myself. I'll like say, okay, I'm gonna put these 3 colors on the palette, and that is all I'm gonna use. I got to see what I can do with these 3 colors, and that's super fun. And so yeah, I mean, it's like sometimes I'll do a landscape, and every now and then I'll do a still life. I used to do a ton of still lifes. Now I just really whatever kind of catches my fancy, just anything really.
Yes, I love the pictures of. I I love photos and portraits of trees, especially as my mother used to always say, "Why do you have a dead tree on your living room wall?" I mean, my wife and I just love the tree. It's more of a fall picture because you got the orange background. You know how the branches just stand out at, like, say, at sunset.
Oh yeah,
and that orange behind the tree. And we're going down the street, down the road all the time. We'll say, "Man, look at that sunset over there." I just really dig that, Oh, and so we bought a porch and put on our living room wall. So my mother came over and says, "You have a dead tree on your wall." Like, it's not really a dead tree, Mom. It's in the fall. And so my wife's mother came over, and she said the same thing. Why would you have a dead tree on your wall? It's like, I'm like, oh my God. So we always love that type of, and to each their own. And I'm sure you come across that quite a bit on maybe what some people like this better than that, like say.
It's weird. When I did fine art, there was kind of an unwritten rule. I had some other artists tell me they were like, never do winter scenes, because people, the amount of people who like the winter scenes is way less. Your odds are better, selling that if it's a, nice, pretty winter, happy, or a, summer or spring thing. And I found, like, with doing the paranormal stuff like I do, those people don't care. They like the kind of moody, kind of spooky, kind of, thing. And plus, who's to say that doesn't mean that, just because it's a tree without any leaves that, it's coming back, it's on its way back. So, there's hope there,
I want to get to your book,
Oh, okay.
Your Bigfoot expeditions. I thought that was really well thought out, well planned book. I really do.
That means a lot. I'm real proud of that idea, and I still think it's got more legs. I think it could be bigger than what it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I started out where I thought, I don't know if anyone would want a book. I'll do a calendar. Let's start kind of small. So I self-published one calendar, and I ended up getting with a publisher, Doug Hychek, who's kind of known in the paranormal world, or mostly like the cryptid world. He used to produce Monster Quest. Well, Doug's kind of a friend, and he likes my work, and I was like, hey, let's do a calendar together. So we put out a couple calendars together, and that was all good. And I actually got another publisher to do my book. And I was like, well, if people really like these calendars, it's like, well, calendars have like a shelf life. They're like, after a while, no one's going to buy them,
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I want to do a book that's, forever green. And so, yeah, it's basically, I guess I should describe this. I do these hidden Bigfoot paintings, and the book is set up. It's like you're going on your own expedition. It's basically a coffee table book of my art, but you have Bigfoot in there to find. And so it's kind of fun. People who like my art love it, and then people who are just into finding the Bigfoot and don't care about my art love it. And it's like it's funny. It's like my publisher was like, well, are we calling this a kid's book or what? I'm like, 99% of the people who buy it are adults,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure I would call it a kid's book, so we didn't really know where to put it on Amazon, but we have in a couple different things. But
because Amazon wants you to label whatever you're doing.
They're big time into that. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like my book, Spencer's Ghosts. So it's about a true story growing up in a haunted house. So you're targeting.
Yeah.
I think that your concept could target anybody, younger or older.
That's
same as mine.
That's what I keep saying.
Yeah.
I keep telling the publisher, we need to market this everywhere.
So was that a spinoff of your calendars? Of your calendar?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what you have a fascination for Bigfoot, or?
I mean, all things paranormal.
Okay.
It probably started with Bigfoot because I'm of that generation, who watched the show In Search Of when I was a kid, the one with Leonard Nimoy. And my dad came and got me and said, you got to see this. And, and it was the episode of, of the Patterson-Gimlin film, where I first saw Bigfoot. And I had no idea what this was, and I was blown away. It's like monsters could be real. And so, between that and then my uncle actually gave me a book. I think it was like a Time Life book. It was called like Strange Stories and Amazing Facts or something like that. And it was just nothing but just spooky, paranormal, strange stories. And I read that thing cover to cover so many times. And so between those two things, it absolutely, solidified my interest in the paranormal.
Yeah, have you had any experiences with that?
I have. No cryptid encounters, really. Kind of wish I did, but no. But I have two stories that I tell quite a bit, but one is I would call possibly a demonic event, and then I have one that I think is kind of an angelic event. So when I was, this is the demonic one. When I was in high school, I was in a band, a little rock band, and we were doing pretty good, and we had saved up a bunch of money, and we decided to put on kind of our own little showcase. So in the next big town, it was Anderson, Indiana, there was it's hard to explain what this was. It was kind of like, I think they call them pole barns, but it was just like this really kind of prefab, like barn building type thing. There was like nothing to it. And I think they rented it out for people to use for like weddings maybe or things like that. There's nothing to this. It was like a shell of a building. It had 2 garage doors for like load in and load out. And then it had one main door that was to let the crowd in and out. Then there was some seating. It had a stage. And it had like a bar that was just, didn't have anything in it. If you wanted to sell anything there, you would have to bring it with you, So anyway, we had saved up all this money, real excited about this show. So the night before the show, all us people in the band were standing around the soundboard, kind of in the middle. And we were saying goodbye to each other, just like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, we're all good. Everything's cool. We'd shut everything. We're getting ready to go out the front doors. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we hear this loud laugh, this cackling, creepy laugh. And we look up, and there is this man sitting on one of our bass speakers, bass woofers, and he's just laughing his head off. Almost falling backwards laughing. And we're all looking at each other like, what the hell? We're like, where did this guy come from? And what the hell is so funny, And it was freaking us out. And we were all like, well, we're getting ready to go. So we're like, we got to get this guy out of here, So everyone kind of pushes me forward. So I had to go up to the guy. So I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing here? What can I help you with? And he was like, hey, I got something. You're going to love this. You were going to absolutely love this. And he reached behind his back, and it was unbelievable how he did this. It was like straight out of a cartoon. When like Bugs Bunny reaches behind his back and like pulls out a mallet or something. It's always like something's ready behind his back. Yeah. That's kind of what this guy did. He put his hand behind his back, and when he pulled it out, he had a stack of Polaroids between his thumb and index finger that was, he could almost not even hold it because there were so many of these Polaroids. And he took them out and he started going through them, showing me, and they were crazy pornographic. And I was all like, oh, okay, maybe this guy's like a pimp or something. He snuck in somehow, and he's hitting up all these, 17-year-olds who have no money whatsoever. I'm kind of like, what is this guy doing? But anyway, I'm like, no, dude, no, absolutely not interested in that. You need to go. And then he said, no, man, what do you need? And I'm like, okay, is he a drug dealer? I'm just like baffled what this guy wants. And I said, man, I was a little forceful with him. I'm like, dude, we don't want anything. You need to leave. And then he got real serious. And he made real strong eye contact. And he was like saying, no, really, what do you need? Just tell me what you want. What is it you want? And the way he got so serious, because just moments ago he was cackling, laughing, having a good old time. And then suddenly he just, a switch flipped and he's like staring me down, wanting to know what I want. Like the thing I want most in this world. Freaked me out. So one of the guitar players kind of wandered up, thank God. And he was going through the Polaroids. I had to kind of pull him away. And I'm like, no, I don't need anything, dude. I'm like, okay, we're just leaving. You need to leave too. So he starts kind of like laughing again. And then as I'm walking away, I get right back to the soundboard, not far away. Not far away at all. And I've been trying to think about how many feet it was. It's been a long time. Maybe 20 feet, if even that. Probably not even that far. And in the time it took for me to just take those few steps back, and we all kind of huddled up, and you know how you do that thing when you're getting ready to talk about somebody, and you look over your shoulder, to make sure they're not listening, because you don't want them to hear. In the time we huddled up, and I look over my shoulder so the guy wouldn't hear, and the guy's gone. And I'm like, okay, dude, where'd this guy go? And we're all like looking around like, he's got to be hiding. Where's this guy hiding? Because the garage doors were shut. We had shut and locked those, and that's what he was closest to. He would have had to walk right by us to go out the front doors. I mean, right by us. And we're all like, he's got to be hiding in here somewhere. And then, we started worrying about all our equipment and everything. And so we're frantically going through this whole place, which is nothing. There's nothing to this building. I can't stress that enough. We're looking everywhere. I even looked under my drum riser, which is, it's like a foot high. It was nothing, but there is a space to crawl underneath there, so we checked it out. Never did find the guy. We were fairly certain when we left that night that guy was not in that building. So we, to this day have no idea who that was, how he came in, and how he left. None of us saw either thing happen. And to this day, it totally weirds me out,
Do you think maybe something happened in that building? I mean, where were you playing at?
It was, it was just this place you could rent out,
so
there was all kinds of, there could have been anything in there.
Right. You don't know the past history of the building.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody died there, got killed there. You don't know.
Yeah. There was a bar that was close, and that was our first thing, was kind of like, okay, he's wandered over from the bar. But the thing was, still, again, we would have seen him come in or leave, So so that we don't think that was the case.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, some people have said like, oh, that's your crossroads moment. That was, he was offering you a chance to, if you would have said what you really wanted, maybe he would have made you a deal. And I'm like, I'm not sure I believe in that, but I would say, but I would say, I'm like, as I got older, I was like, I don't know, maybe that was,
Well, the reason I asked that is because about a year ago, my wife and I went to see a tribute band in Canton, Ohio, an Eagles tribute band. And after the show, I like these smaller theaters because you can talk to the band afterwards and share stories, And I was talking to the bass player, and I says, "How you enjoying Canton?" He says, "I really didn't see much of it because they told us we could stay here in the theater. There's rooms for the band, but we got the hell out of here because it was too active. And here it's known to be an active theater. And a lot of artists I've played there have witnessed activity. That's why I had just asked maybe somebody else had some similar experience there. Or
well, I will say this little offshoot of that one. I did rehearse in a haunted theater one time. It was a long story, but there was a guy who became our manager, and he was an attorney, and this was a different band I was in, and this one guy had owned a very famous theater downtown Indianapolis, and it was called the Rivoli, and it was built like in the 20s, and it was built by MGM, and like Charlie Chaplin performed there. It was back in the day that the big these big movie networks, or whatever you call them, they would build their own theaters, and so this theater had been around forever. Well, the guy who owned it turned it into a porno theater. There is sort of I'm sure you're seeing a pattern here now.
I'm seeing this pattern.
Solves porn here.
I wasn't going to say nothing, but
Yeah, this guy, he just stuck this screen on the stage and showed porno movies. And he had gotten into all kinds of financial trouble, and our attorney was trying to help him. And to pay off some of the fee, he let us rehearse there. And, it was so haunted. Now, I did not see much. But some of the other guys did. And one of the things I thought that was real freaky was the guy said, I wasn't there for this, but the guy who owned it said, hey, if you stay till, I think it was like, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, he said, if you do that, you can look through, and he had some sort of night vision, maybe infrared sort of a thing. And and this is kind of gross, but he had to buy this because there was stuff going on in the seats that he had to keep an eye on.
Oh, yeah.
And so he had to be able to see in the dark. And he would tell us that there were times that he would be up in the projection booth and keeping an eye on people. And he knew he sold like 8 tickets and there was suddenly 9 people in the theater. And he would run down to chase this 9th person out, and they wouldn't be there. And he'd go back upstairs and look through the night vision stuff, and said that the person was back, And some of the guys stayed late, to that 3 o'clock. And he had said that if you stay till 3 o'clock in the middle of the theater, this little white mist would form. And he said it was right like clockwork. You could see this. And the guys who did stay and said absolutely something did form right in the middle of that theater. And it could only be seen through that infrared or whatever it was.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that, like a lot of these old theaters that they remodeled or whatever, trying to bring back to life. And
yeah,
I think they disturb a lot of stuff that's going on there.
Yeah.
And same thing with the churches, a lot of activity in these churches. I've been doing this podcast. So you said you were this close of making it big, being a musician. I mean, what happened?
Okay. I'll make it real quick. I had an original band in the early 90s in Indianapolis, and we were starting to make some waves. We were doing really good. We wrote really good songs. And we got the attention of that attorney I was telling you about. He was an entertainment lawyer, and he had heard about us, and he checked us out and was like, hey, you guys are pretty good. Maybe I'll be your, management. And we agreed to it. And he had lived in Toronto, and his dad had owned a law firm in Toronto. Well, he still owned a law firm in Toronto, and that law firm handled a band called Triumph. Triumph. They were huge back in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
And Triumph, probably the second biggest rock band to come out of Canada. I don't know, but they were huge in the 80s. But our manager, the attorney guy, got a tape to Triumph, and he liked our band. He said, "Oh, yeah, these guys are going to make it. I'm fairly certain, you know." And he said, "Hey, tell you what, why don't you guys come to?" I think his studio was called Metalworks or something like that in Toronto. He's like, "Why don't you guys come up and record?" And you know, we were like, "Oh, hell yeah!" And so we were rehearsing to go record, and we were actually waiting for Guns N' Roses to get out of the studio. They were mixing like one of the Use Your Illusion albums, I think it was, and they were taking forever. As you know, if you know anything about Guns N' Roses, they took forever to do anything. And so you know, if they would have just left when they were supposed to have left, I probably would have still been in the band. But they screwed around, and in that time, things got heated. We were a bit stressed, and there was some stuff over what songs we wanted to do, and I had been rehearsing the certain songs we were going to record, and then they decided to not do those songs and didn't tell me. And so anyway, it ended up this huge blow up. I basically got fired out of my own band. I literally started this band. I mean, everything. The name of the band was in my name and everything, but the management sided with the two other guys, and me and the guitar player left. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I didn't get my big break that I, thought was going to happen. But I mean, like Gilmore was just, he was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are absolutely going to make it." He had no doubt. And so yeah, that all blew up, and it was after that. It was not long after that where I had told my mother-in-law, I was like, I'm not gonna, I can't just start and try it all over again to become, a rock star. I'm just not doing it. It just, from literally the 6th grade on, that's all I wanted to do, and that's all I worked towards, And when it ended, I was just all like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm absolutely done." So.
Yeah, I know how you're saying, because same here. I mean, we were so close, also, and making CDs, and when you record somebody else's song, you have the copyright, or the mechanical right of it, and
sure,
that was kind of funny because you had mentioned the Guns N' Roses, because we were wanting to record "Knock on Heaven's Door," and naturally, Bob Dylan wrote the songs. We had to go through his publishing his own through Ramhorn Music. Mm-hmm. So we had to go through Ramhorn, and that was a whole story in itself, So it's like step after step after step. And he had mentioned his people got back to us why it's taking so long, because they listened to everything that you want to record from Bob Dylan. Because ever since Guns N' Roses did "Knock on Heaven's Door," he was totally pissed. So we were like, "Well, what's that got to do with us?" So we were like,
no kidding.
And we got it was just thousands and thousands of dollars we're spending on our own. I mean, thousands, literally thousands of, even on playing places, we got to pay to play. Like if you want to get on that ticket to open up for, whoever, like Dave Davies from the Kinks, or Steppenwolf, or whoever we're opening up for, we had to pay. And the more tickets you sold, the closer you got to the main act. You know what I'm saying? So we ended up buying a lot of our own tickets just so we can get close to have a better crowd there, right? So I can relate with a lot of musicians on here. And when you said you were this close, it's like, that really sucks, because, you are that close to...
Well, I will say this. In my mind, I was that close. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't have made it. But, that was the closest I had got. The right people... Matter of fact, I didn't tell you this part. We had done some recording, and one of John Mellencamp's guitar players came in, and he ended up producing it because he kind of liked what we were doing, and he just happened to be in the studio, and he was all like, "Let me go ahead and produce this demo." And so it was, things were trending in the right direction, and then for it to all fall apart, I was depressed for years. It was so awful.
I want to jump back here for a minute for on your paintings. Let's say you sell a painting, and I know the original artwork is going to be more money than, say, a printed version or a lithograph, whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you ever come across where you didn't sell that painting because it meant too much to you?
Oh yeah, Oh, absolutely. I have one in my closet right now that I don't even take it out. I just, I just want to keep it perfect and set aside, Yeah, I did early on when I first started painting, I had all these lofty goals and I was I was out kicking my coverage. I was trying to do stuff that I was not ready to do, but I went for it anyway. And I was all like, I want to become a Renaissance type artist and I'm going to do biblical themes. And so I did a gigantic painting and it was literally 7.5 feet wide by 5.5 feet tall, something like that. And it was of Noah's Ark and I researched it. And I even talked to professors at IU about what a mountain would look like after a great flood, and I wanted to do after this, after the flood, and the ark would be in the mountains and what that would look like. So I did all this research on it. And I painted it, and that one I gave it to a church, and the day I had to give it to the church was rough because it had sat on my living room wall for about 2.5 years when my kids had just been born. And my kids, well, not just been born, but they were really small. My kids had never not known that painting to be on the wall. It was so big I couldn't put it on an easel. I just took it, put it on the wall. And, that was weird to me that the kids were all like, wow, that is never saw that painting not there, and to give that away was rough. But I visited. I saw it about 3 years ago, and it was still in great shape. I was shocked. I really was shocked for not knowing what I was doing. It turned out well, so I was kind of happy about that.
What about if you painted a painting, let's say, and you sold the painting, right? Mm-hmm. And you can always, you're going to make your money off of the copies, right? What if somebody wanted that same painting but wanted the original? Would you repaint that painting?
Yeah, well, a couple things. I almost never do prints.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a company called Fine Art America who has some of my images that I've given them. And they'll it's like a print on demand thing, and they'll put stuff on a shower curtain. They don't care. They'll put it on anything. And I have sold some prints through there, but not many. I really don't like doing prints. It's a long story, but I saw a bunch of painters kind of abuse that when I was doing fine art shows, where they would get prints and they'd put a little bit of paint on them and try to pass them off as originals, and I hated that. So yeah, I don't do a lot of prints, but as replicating a painting, I get asked to do that all the time, and I will do it on the condition that it's not going to be exactly the same. I will get close, but I don't want to do the exact same painting. I don't think it's fair to the person who owns the original of that. And most of the time, I will even ask the people who bought the original if they're okay with that, if I can, replicate it, to some degree. And if I get the blessing of that, I'll do that. The matter of fact, the cover of my book is owned by a lady named Amy Boo, who's she's from Ohio. She's a Bigfoot researcher and really sweet lady. And she owns that painting. And I've had at least 2 times where people wanted that exact painting. And I've asked her, can I do something very similar to your painting? And she said, absolutely. So okay, yeah, cool. I will. Yeah, sorry, it's a long way around to get to that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, because like a musician, sometimes when I don't think there's any musician out there I've heard of or know that when they record a song, they wish they could have done it better, or they could have went back and they could have fixed something on it.
Oh yeah,
I've done that myself. Oh, yeah. So I was just curious if you've done that. Going back, I think I heard you say, if a painting doesn't sell, you will go back and try to fine tune it or make it a little more colorful, or what I'm saying?
Yeah,
or sellable.
Yeah. I'll do that. Matter of fact, that happened not long ago. Just for instance, I love doing seascapes, and I had done this seascape, and I was really proud of it. And nobody was interested, just no nibbles at all. And I ended up, I put it aside in the studio, and I just kept an eye on it for a while. And then one day I was all like, I know what this needs. And I put a Viking ship in it and sold it after I put the Viking ship in, I sold it in 15 minutes. So, it's just like, that's what I was waiting for,
I like your Bigfoot book, your paintings there in that book. Now, were those paintings done and then you added Bigfoot later, or did you add Bigfoot knowing I'm going to put him in there?
A little bit of both. Some of those were older paintings I had done before, I'd really committed to, okay, this is going to be my life now, painting Bigfoot in paintings, And some of them, it was like, okay, I need another fall painting, for the fall area of my book. And so, okay, now I need to, paint something for fall. And so, a little bit of both. Some were existing. Some of them I did notice once I had blown them up really big. I was checking the resolution for, to be used in the book. And I realized that, this Bigfoot didn't come out quite right. It works like if you saw the painting, in real life, but in the book, it's not going to work. So I did digitally go in and tweak a few of the Bigfoot to make them just a little more visible.
I seen on a former podcast today. I was just scanning through to see what I could dig up on you, and
cool.
The word Wendigo was brought up, and you didn't want to. You don't want to repeat that word again.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning? I mean, I know a little bit. I want to let my listeners know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it, but I don't like saying it a lot. Well, the thing was, it was another podcast that I had done, and the guy and I had become kind of friends after I'd done his podcast, and he said, "Hey, I had an encounter with a Wendigo. Would you paint my encounter?" And at the time, I was like, "Well, sure, yeah, I'll try. This could be a fun, challenge." And so he told me all about his encounter. I took a bunch of notes, and I sat down. I was working on it. And I thought, this will be easy. I absolutely know what I'm doing here. And I kept sending him progress pics, and he was like, it's just not quite there yet. And so I would go back and I'd work on it some more, and it just was not going well. And then there was one night, first I should say, I put it aside, and I do that a lot. I just put paintings aside, and I'll just walk by them, every day and just kind of keep an eye on them. And every time I'd walk by that painting, and, I just was getting creeped out, more and more creeped out by it. And then one morning I woke up and I had a horrible nightmare, and it involved a Wendigo. And the other real weird coincidence was I had not heard that word, forever, except, why I talked to that friend of mine. And it's like within, I don't know, an hour and a half, I must have saw that word pop up 5 or 6 times. It was just uncanny, and it was creepy. It was like I sat down, was listening to some sort of podcast or something, and someone was talking about some actress or something, and they were like, well, I was thinking, what was that movie? It's like, or what movies has this person been in? And I checked IMDb, and the first movie this person was in was Wendigo. And then did 2 other things happened right one after another, and that name, it picked up again. And then, later on, just hour and a half later, I saw it, 2 or 3 more times in just weird places, just scrolling on the internet, and all of a sudden that word would just jump out. And I'm just like, this is creepy. I had to finally get with the guy, and I'm like, listen, I'll paint almost anything, but I'm like, I really don't feel good about this. I'm like, I'm having nightmares, and I'm seeing the word everywhere, and I'm like, I hate to do this. I don't think I've ever told anyone that I can't do their painting, but I said I cannot do it, and he was very understanding, and he was very cool about it.
That when you said so strange, it was strange for me today when I came across that, right? Because And then I did a little more research on Wendigo.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you got Skinwalker, you got Bigfoot,
Yeah.
Dogman, but you have Wendigo's like its own. I mean, the Native American Indians don't even mention it.
Yeah.
Don't even talk about it. So like you were saying, because it's not a good thing. So
yeah, I mean, there was a long time where I wouldn't even I'd say it maybe once, and then I wouldn't talk. I've gotten past that a little bit. I'll say it, but I don't.
What do you got coming up? Any places you're going this year to sign or show your work?
I'm going to be. Oh gosh, I always think I got to write these down. I will be at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference at Salt Fork, April. I want to say maybe May. I think it's May. I'm sorry, I should know these dates. I always forget to write these down. I will be in the Indiana show in Nashville, Indiana. I will be in. I'll probably do CryptidCon in Kentucky again. So, yeah, here and there, mostly Midwest. Oh, I did get invited to go to Oklahoma to open up a gallery.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, so that I'm kind of excited about that. I think they're paying for my whole way, so I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, send me the information. I'll put the links at the bottom of this episode so we're going to be at. Yeah, so people can follow you and also the links where they can buy your paintings.
Yeah.
So I'll put those links in there as well.
I love Ohio. I tell people it's like Ohio, Indiana. It's basically the same state.
Yeah, it is. I mean, got basically almost the same weather and
the people are I think are the same. Yeah. I always feel better like if I'm on a long trip. As soon as I get in Ohio, I feel like okay, I'm home.
Yeah. I mean, my wife went to Italy and she came back, and we were going to go to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, and we got to talking so much. I passed the exit up. I mean, I'm near Youngstown, right? So we're traveling halfway across the state, 3/4 across the state, and then passed up Sandusky, passed up, heading up to Toledo, and right into Indiana. Welcome to Indiana.
Oops.
Yeah. Thank Timothy. I appreciate your time and stopping by and talking to me.
I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Thank you, Timothy Wayne Williams. Please check out all his links at the bottom of this episode. And also, every Friday of this month of February, I'll be on the Horror History and Hauntings Podcast Library on YouTube. The links will be at the bottom of this episode as well. Christina Spencer will be reading chapters from my book, and then I'll be on the last Friday at 9:30 p.m. in February. Please, if you have a chance to listen to it, maybe you might want to pick the book up after you hear a couple of these chapters. If you haven't already, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, Christina. And also, I appreciate every single one of you. I'm your host, Al Cooley, Ghost in the Valley Podcast.